Hello everyone, here I am trying to make things a bit regular. I am putting in the effort, but as you probably already saw in the video, I decided today is a perfect day for me to go through the books that I've read in the summer because, in case you didn't see the previous video, but I mentioned this in the previous one, me and my boyfriend went on a vacation that lasted us 4 months, and I cannot carry books that I'm acquiring throughout 4 months on my backpack because we're backpackers. So the space was very limited. So I had to read the books and drop them behind, which I know hurts in your soul. It hurt in mine too. I had to leave them behind so that I could keep reading new ones because I'm not a Kindle girly, I'm a physical book girly, and that's a struggle. Okay, that is a struggle. But yeah, I decided that I don't want those books to go unnoticed, so I'm gonna make a whole video dedicated to them so that I can show you what I've been reading in the summer and give them the proper recognition that some of them deserve. Alright, so getting into it without further ado, I'm gonna be looking down because I have my computer here and it's having the Goodreads app on this one, and then I'm also gonna be looking in my phone because I have this app called Goodmori. It probably doesn't even focus. I have this app called Bookmori where I keep all my books, and normally the reviews, if they're not on Goodreads, they're probably on this app. We're gonna have to go back to April, which was when this vacation started. And I read on April 11, When in Rome by Sarah Adams. Now, if you don't know, that's a trilogy. It's very famous also. It actually has a good rating. This When in Rome has 388 on Goodreads, and I quite liked it. Like, it wasn't a bad book, but it just didn't have any depth to it. So my rating, I think it was like a 3.5. Yeah, 3.5. It was a comfy rom-com, not very deep. It was fun, quick read, and I might even read the next ones too. I've been obsessing about reading the next one, so I will for sure continue this trilogy. But I don't know, I just gave it a 3.5 because it didn't really have any, the characters were very like shallow, but the story was nice. It just didn't have anything like deep to it, and maybe in that moment that's what I was craving. But it was a nice quick read and I gave it 3.5, so not the worst. The second book, it was quite a surprise. This book is called Wanderlust by L. Everhart. It has an average rating of 3.36. 3.36. And I'm a sucker for low rated books. If a book has over 2 stars, I'm gonna read it. And if it has under 4, I'm gonna read it even sooner. So I'm like, no, I can't believe this can't be right, and I want to prove people wrong. And it actually happened on this one because the average rating is 3.36, and I ended up giving it 4.75. A 4.75. And I wrote as well, I went into it expecting a 2-3 star, but this book surprised me beyond words. I just loved how deep and unserious it was. And now that I know there's a second one, I hope I can get my hands on book 2 ASAP. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a second book. It was supposed to exist, but they probably gave up on it because of the low ratings. They might have given up on it because I never saw it again. I don't know where I saw this, but I know that it didn't come out, so there's no second book for me to read anymore. I read The Book of Tomorrow by Cecilia Ahern by Miss Cecilia, okay? I love that book. I love that book. Normal rating on Goodreads is 3.67, so it's quite okay. It's like quite a good book, 3.67, and I gave it 4.75, and I wrote, it was much better than I expected. The writing was incredibly done, and it dug deeper issues than I firstly assumed. You heard Gabriella from the past, you heard it. Moving on to the next, very famous, it's a yellow cover. Guess what the book is? You guessed it, Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. 3.73 stars on Goodreads. I gave this book a 3.75, so actually quite well rated this one. I wrote 3.75 because I'm still fuming from that ending. Who the fuck approved that? And no sequel coming? Felt like a waste of time to read the last 100 pages of the book. I still, to this day, I think I'm gonna reduce that star rating because, like, I read the book and I was enjoying it. It was okay. I was enjoying it a lot, and then it gets to the ending, and I'm like, what you mean? I just read these 300 pages to things not get fixed in the end. I know people love this book. I've heard millions and millions of people raving about this book. I cannot understand how you don't mind reading a whole book to then get to the end and the plot not to be concluded. Why did I read that book for then? as you can see, I'm still fuming at that freaking book. But anyway, May 9th, I read It's Always the Husband by Michelle Campbell. It's a thriller book. I don't think it's very famous, but I think it was okay. So that book on Goodreads has 3.69 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars, so actually also quite nearly. I wrote, perhaps I went with the wrong expectations. It wasn't a thriller, it was a suspense. Well written but repetitive at times. Yeah, I remember that the story wasn't anything memorable and I didn't get the creeps out of it. It was just a suspense, a drama, you know, and maybe I went just expecting too much of a thriller, so it didn't really meet my expectations, but it was still okay. After that, we go to Arthur and Teddy Are Coming Out by Ryan Love. I wish I could say I loved it. Like, I feel like I did like that book. It was so nice. It was so nice. It wasn't anything mind-blowing. The ending is quite nice. The ending really gave me that I needed, but it still wasn't a 5-star for me. This book on Goodreads has 3.71 ratings, and I gave it a solid 3-star. And I wrote, the character's immaturity kind of did it for me. Half of the plots would be fixable with a conversation. This happens in a lot of books for me. I feel like immaturity is something that I cannot read about. I just can't. If there's a problem and it would be fixable with an easy conversation, that conversation should have happened. And on this book, I felt like there was a lot of plots, but then nothing actually got solved because the characters wouldn't speak to each other. So I didn't really like that. But it was a wonderful book. I still enjoyed quite a bit. After that, we read on May 17th, The French Girl by Lexi Elliott. That book has 3.56 stars. So also, if it's over 3.5 for me, it's like a good rating. So it's a good rating, and it's a thriller as well. And I rated it 4 stars, solid 4 stars, so actually more than Goodreads had. And I wrote, very well written, loved how descriptive it was, made the creepy parts even creepier, just missed more action. I felt like the book was like just dragging a lot on one special thing, one situation that was happening, while it could have like developed way more, you know. But the writing was incredible. I remember that it was super fast paced. I got like creeped out a bunch reading that book, and I feel like that's what I like in a thriller. I want the thriller to be sliding more to horror as well, you know. I want to read it and feel like, oh, what is gonna happen, and not just like, oh yeah, that makes sense, you know. I want to feel the creeps of a thriller. So that book was almost a 5-star, but just 4 stars. After that, we read Margaret's Got Money Troubles by Ruthie Thorpe. The synopsis of the book was so good that I was so excited to read it. So I went with maybe a little bit too high expectations. This book has 3.85 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 3.5. And also no explaining whatsoever. I just didn't even care to write a review. I felt like the writing was not the greatest, but it still had very funny moments, because I remember like actually laughing out loud at that book. So I think it was well executed at some points, but then the book wasn't really anything wow. After that, May 28th, we read The Staycation by Cressida McLaughlin? Cressida? That book has actually higher ratings than I gave it. That book has 3.73 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it a 3.25 stars. My review was, unfortunately, I did not connect to the characters. The plot was interesting though. It's a premise that I've never seen or heard before. I don't know, maybe it's just not my thing. Can't really fault anything specific of the book that made me not enjoy it anymore. It just didn't happen. I do remember this book. It's basically a girl that is a travel agent, and there's a client of hers that broke a leg and cannot travel, so she needs to create these staycations for him so that he can travel through her experience, you know? And she fakes all of this, like he thinks that she's been going to Australia, she's been going to Japan, but she's actually never left the UK because, I think it was UK. She's never left the UK because she's afraid of the planes and all of that since childhood. She has a trauma. So she starts doing these staycations, and I just felt like the idea was there and I get it, but then it was always the same thing. She would go there, pretend to be in a place, feel bad that she's pretending, go home, go there the next day, pretend to be in a place, feel bad that she has not been there, and then it's just this, and I didn't really find anything wow about it. Sorry. So I gave it a 3.25. Then we read It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I read the first book and I loved it. I loved it so much. I read it last summer and it was a perfect vibe, everything I needed and more. My expectations again were extremely high. And you know what happened? I gave it a 3-star. A 3-star. And this book has 3.91 rating on Goodreads. That is sad. I gave it a solid 3 and I said nothing wow, and it has more dirty language than I would like to read in a book. The second one was better, but it might have been because I read it in Portuguese and we are not so dirty minded. So the second book on this series that I read last year, I read it in Brazil. In Brazil they don't have really big sections of English books, so I had to buy them in Portuguese. And I love that book. I remember I loved it so much. And I was so excited for this, but then I read this one in English and I was thinking, maybe it's just because we are not so dirty-minded. So we just wrote, like, the translation just was better in some way. But I did find the first book a little too dirty. If there's sex scenes, I would like them to be, like, not with certain vocabulary that would give me the ick. And this one, unfortunately, had a lot of vocabulary that I do not like to read in a book. So that gave it a 3-star. After that, however, we went to a thriller. We went to The Children on the Hill, very famous as well, by Jennifer McMahon. Miss Jennifer. This book has 3.85 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it a 5-star. I gave it a 5-star and I wrote, and I quote, I gasped at that plot twist. When I thought that was it, boom, the last 3 pages hit. Absolutely terrifyingly beautiful work. I do remember this book like I read it yesterday. It was a memorable book. I loved every single bit of it. And you know how I said that I like thrillers that give me the creeps? This was it. And it's something that I wouldn't even think someone would write a book about, but they just did. And it just worked so well. Like, I wouldn't change a thing in this book. 5 stars. Loved it. Go read it. If you like thrillers, go read that. Then I read Love, Hope by Juliet Ann Conlin. I think this book I actually showed you on my previous video because this is one of the books that came all the way with me. I loved it so much. I don't know how I can describe it without spoiling it, but basically there's a young girl and an older man that start sending letters because they are both lonely, and the sister of the girl decides that she should send him a letter, and they just start communicating like that. And the book just goes through all these ups and downs in lives of a young girl and an older man that have completely different lifestyles. And it just goes through the ups and downs of each and how they both help each other get over it. I cried reading this book. It was so good. And it has an average rating of 3.87 stars. And I wrote an absolute 6-star book. It gave my heart flutters, and that does not happen very often. Such an unexpected experience. I found the writing style a bit odd at first, but after a few pages and getting the hang of it, I loved how Juliet Ann Conlin has written a book in the most unique way. I laughed, I cried. It has been an emotional roller coaster, but one I will definitely be revisiting. What I'm mentioning about the writing style is that this book is not written like your average book, you know, and it's not even different POVs. It's just you read the letters that they've been sending to each other. So you follow up this story, literally how they lived its story, you know, getting the letters that the girl sent to the man, getting the letters that the man sent to the girl, some messages between other characters as well. It's not like the prose that we're normally used to reading, you know. I just loved it. I was so afraid I wasn't gonna get into it. I just loved it. 6 stars. I mean, I loved it. It was The Burnout by Sophie Kinsella. I was also very excited for this book, and I got this book for free, so I gave it a solid 3-star. And I think I mentioned it on the other video as well. It was just nothing. I felt like there was no plot to it. I felt like it was like 400 pages almost, and there was nothing. But it's one of those books that you don't really need to think of anything. You're just reading it just to spend your time, you know, not really to gain anything from that book. And that was the experience I had. I read The Paper Palace by Heller Miranda Cowley. This book has 3.79 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 3.75 stars. I wrote, whoa, It's a 3.75 for me. It's quite harsh and unfortunately real for many people back in those times. I did feel like it didn't really give me an end as conclusive as I was hoping for. It's quite complex and it did take me on a long time to read because it's not an easy feel-good read by any means, but it was wonderfully written. I find it a bit hard to understand that Elle is over 50 years old when most of the action that happens throughout the book and the way she deals with problems and thinks about things is quite juvenile. It was heavy. It was heavy. Like the topics that I mentioned here, like definitely check trigger warnings if you have any, definitely go check them. But the topics that are mentioned in this book and that the book is all talked about, it's heavy and there's a lot of depth to it, which I love. Maybe it's just I read the book at the wrong time. It was summer, I was looking for a feel-good type of book and I got this one and I was thinking it's literary fiction, there's a high chance that it will make me cry my balls out, and it did. So I think it was not that the book was bad. Actually it was at 3.75, so it's not bad. It's just it didn't get to a 5-star because I was looking for something else, and it might have just been the timing that I read it that wasn't correct. But after that, we go back to 5-star reads, and we read Love at First Book. That's also another book I think that I showed on my previous video. I love that book. I loved it so much. I loved it so much. I gave it a 5-star. Miss Jen McKinley, whenever you're ready to drop out something, we are here. We are here and we'll go buy it immediately, okay? I love the book. It's a book about books, so I'm a sucker for that. And it's a romance with depth to it. And the romance is not even the main plot of things, it's like the subplot. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. A book that I was very excited, and I also mentioned on my previous video, was I Bet You Look Good in a Coffin by Katie Brent. This book has actually an average rating of 4.08. That's crazy. I gave it a 3-star. It's probably the lowest book I have by this author, and I already explained it on the other video, so I don't want to go too much into it. But basically, The Murder After the Night Before was my 5-star read. Then I started this Kitty Collins series, or duology so far, which is How to Kill Men and Get Away with It. Gave it a 4-star. And then unfortunately, I Bet You Look Good in a Coffin. I gave it 3-star. I didn't find it wow. I felt like it was very political. I feel like maybe we got a bit of a look on the author through that character and not really the character herself, because in the first book this doesn't happen, but then I didn't really enjoy that aspect of it, so I give it a 3-star. It was nice to read, but still, it was a bit extreme and I didn't really like that. I completely forgot to tell you the dates, but we are now in July. July 4th I read An Island Promise by Patricia Wilson. This book is crazy. It has 4.36 stars average rating in Goodreads, and I gave that book 4 stars, so quite close. Look at the length of my review. Okay, it's a whole essay. It happens in Greece, in the island of Corfu, and you follow the life of this woman that now lives in Corfu, that she's Jew, and she's just telling stories to her granddaughter about back in the day, why she had to leave her home, and all of this. And it goes through, it's about the Nazis, how the Nazis tried to invade Greece and kill everyone in the meantime. And it's very descriptive, which I normally love because it makes you imagine the setting of the book perfectly. The problem was, it was descriptive on the ugly parts as well, which is not a problem, because again, if I would be home and I would be in the mood for that, I would probably have given it a 5-star, but because I was on vacation and I wanted something light and nice and fluffy, I gave it a 4-star. But the only problem was, I think it was just that I read it at the wrong time. It's not a pleasant thing to read, but you know that, right? You know, if it's about the war, you're not going to be laughing out loud. And at the end of this book, there was actually pages saying what was true, basically all of it, and the actual facts that they used to create the fiction, the actual facts that inspire that, and I love them. After that sad book, which was a 4-star, so quite good, we read probably the best book I've ever read in my life, and that is The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods. I loved this book. I don't know, it was the perfect, I think because coming from An Island Promise, I had my heart so dark and so sad that this book was just the escape that I needed. And it's magical realism, love it, and the characters have depth to it, there's situations, there's like actual history there, loved it. and it's written wonderfully. I love the way it was written. It doesn't feel like a rom-com from nowadays. It doesn't feel like a classic. It's like right in between. My heart is getting warm just talking about it. This book has 4.01 stars on Goodreads, so 4 stars, and I gave this book 6 stars. And I wrote, and I quote, "If any book deserves 6 stars, it's this one. I absolutely love the writing of this novel. It is sophisticated without being hard to understand. The little jokes hidden in certain sentences were right up my alley. I giggled at every single one. The fantasy aspect was just enough for me, not a big fantasy reader. The magic realism was outstandingly done. I cannot wait to get my hands on all other books by Miss Evie." I loved it, and if I can convince you to read any book, if you take any book from this list, take this one. Okay, please. Got me excited, man. After that, we are in July 17 now. I read Anxious People by Frederick Backman. Everyone knows this author, everyone knows this book, and it has 4.17 stars average rating on Goodreads. It was really good. I gave it 4.75, almost a 5-star. I gave it 4.75, and it did, when I finished the book, I was conflicted about my rating. I didn't know if I should give it a 5, if I should give it a 4, so I settled on a 4.75 because I didn't get the 5-star flutters, you know. What I do remember from this book is the writing style. It's called Anxious People, so why would I not pick it up? You know, why would I not pick it up? So I did pick it up, and I was quite nervous to get into it because I thought it would be on the heavy side of mental health, but the way that he writes, I just fell in love with it. The way that he writes, he touches like a sensitive subject, and then the next sentence he makes you laugh, so that you don't really, he doesn't allow you to have enough time to start overthinking of that bad subject and be catastrophizing, basically. He doesn't give you time to catastrophize because he's already solving all the little things that you would be thinking about on the next sentence and making a joke with it. So I just fell in love with the way that I was able to read this without crying, because every time a sad thing would happen, he would turn it around and make me happy before I even let my brain start overthinking about it. I don't know. For me, it felt like magic. I absolutely loved it. After that, we read It Started With a Secret by Jill Manziel. This book has 3.93 stars on average rating on Goodreads, which is quite good. I unfortunately gave it a 3-star. I gave it a 3-star just because it wasn't anything memorable. I read it and I was like, okay, nice. So what now? What do I do now? My review literally starts with quite a meh read. I didn't care much for what was going on, since every few pages a new subplot was being created to keep things interested. I hated how they were trying to keep us busy, just throwing plots in, and I just didn't like that. And then at some point I felt like I was just reading all her ideas, the ideas that Jill Manziel had in her head. I felt like I was reading all these ideas at once, and I was like, not really my thing. So there's that. After that, I read The Road Trip by Beth O'Leary. I was so excited for this book. I was so excited. It doesn't have that good ratings, but I think that's what made me wanted to read it a bit more, as I mentioned. So it has 3.57, which is not the greatest, but I did end up giving it 3.75. There's nothing memorable about it, but it was fun. I had fun while reading it, but the story doesn't have any depth to it, so I can understand why the 3.57. The story doesn't have any depth to it, and I just felt like I read it at the very exact time that I needed. I was road tripping with my parents and my boyfriend from Portugal to Spain, and every time we would go on the road trip, I would be reading this book, and I just felt like it's totally on point, you know? So I give it a 3.75, which is a bit higher than what they have on Goodreads. I think it's a good one, but don't go expecting too much. I went expecting way too much from this book, and it was just okay. After that, we have another thriller. I read The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. As I mentioned on the previous video, it was nothing wow. I love the whole Housemaid series, but then this was the first individual book by her that I read, and it has 4.03 average rating on Goodreads. I gave it a 3-star. It was okay. It just, the thriller wasn't thrilling enough for me, and I didn't get the creeps, and that's a bad sign for me. But I also didn't feel comfortable with giving it under 3 stars, so I gave it a 3-star. that maybe deserved a bit less. But the story was nice. The writing is always nice. The story was nice. Characters were okay, and I really liked the plot twist. But I saw the plot twist coming from a mile away. Because I wasn't satisfied with my thrillers, I read The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rakula. If you read Hidden Pictures, do not go into this book thinking that it's going to be the same thing. Do not, please. I did that. I loved Hidden Pictures. I gave it 5 stars. Absolutely pooped my pants every single time. But then I went to this book expecting that as well. I think Goodreads is actually to blame my disappointment, because Goodreads also advertises this book as a horror, a thriller horror, and that's what I went expecting, and that is not what I got. I got a family drama. I got a reality show drama. So yeah, I should probably put this book on a 2-star, but I feel really bad putting it at 2 stars, so I give it a 3-star. Even though it has 3.62 stars on Goodreads. After that, I read probably the best summer book I've read this year, which was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Again, everyone knows this book. I really liked it. I really did. This book is very hyped up. It has 4.18 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it 4.5 stars. So, very good. There's a whole essay. Again, my review is a whole essay. But it's basically just me yapping about how much I loved it. I read it under 24 hours. It was literally the best summer book I've read. I hate when romances are just basic, shallow, just feel good romance. I love romances that have depth to it, that have more things happening, that have, more to it. I don't want to read a book just to read a book. I want to take something out of that book. And this was the perfect book. However, I did miss more continuation about Charlie. And so basically they're friends since childhood, and it's a girl and 2 boys that are her neighbors. When she goes to the lakeside cabin, she's neighbors with 2 boys, and she ends up dating one of them, the youngest one. And then there's all this love triangle before they start dating. There's all this love triangle. A lot of things happen, and I just feel like the 3rd character, so Charlie, kind of felt left out. I wish they would have put some more POVs from his side as well. But that's fine, because now I know that there's a whole other book which I need to get my hands on, which is One Golden Summer. So yeah, I gave this book 4.5. Loved it. Cannot wait to read the next one. After that, we have Ride the Wave by Catherine Riley. 384 stars. Again, I mentioned all these books in my previous videos, so I don't really want to yap too much about it, but it was a good book. It was just, it was still a bit dirty, and I still didn't enjoy reading about it, but it was okay. If you don't mind the spice in books, go into it. If you do mind the spice in books, go into it, but don't expect too much, okay? But her previous book, Match Point, was way worse, so she did improve. To go back to thrillers, I have a 5-star thriller. This is already August, so this is this month already. Oh my goodness, I read a lot this month. The Boyfriend, The Last One at the Wedding, Every Summer After, Ride the Wave, and now this are still in August. So, The Girl in the Mirror by Rose Carlyle. I love this book so much. I think it's because my previous thriller experiences were so bad that when I finally found a good creepy thriller, I just couldn't wait to finish it. So this book was 5 stars. It's rated 3.80 on Goodreads. I feel like deserves so much more. It's about twins. It's set mostly on a boat and the life of these twins, and I freaking love the way it was written. If I could, I wouldn't change anything on this book, even if I could. That's how good it was, okay? And when you get to the last page, the last paragraph of that book, you're not ready. You're not ready. I'm telling you, you're not ready. After that, we have The Wedding People by Alison S. Patch. 4.10 is the average rating on this book. 4.10, and I gave it a 3-star. I went also with so high expectations. I think it's because these books, as I said in the beginning, they are mainstream books, so everyone talks about them, everyone raves about them. So then I go with such high expectations that never actually get matched up. I just didn't. Again, another whole essay. There's a wedding happening, and there's this suicidal girl that books that same, it's a destination wedding, and there's the whole wedding party has booked this hotel for them to stay. But there's this one guest that is outside of the wedding, doesn't know anything about the wedding, that is suicidal, and she decides to go to that hotel to finish her life. I just felt like it was so dragged. Everything, like the writing was really nice, but then there was just nothing else to do. You're just reading about this wedding and the things that were happening. I was like, what you mean you're about to marry but you don't know if you love your guy? What you mean? So there's that. After that, we read Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Stone. It has a 4.14 stars on Goodreads, and I gave it again a 3 star. I don't know, I just got into a bad thing. After the 5 star The Girl in the Mirror, I think it just went downhill for me. And until recently, I can understand why people love it. I can understand it. It's a romantic book, but it still touches a lot on grief. And I think because The Wedding People was also touching on grief, I didn't enjoy it so much. The writing was good, but the way that there's some expressions that are very modern, like take the W. I'm like, would I like to read that? No. As I mentioned, I do not enjoy like modern language, so I just couldn't connect to them because of the way that the characters spoke to each other, you know? I believe they're mid-20s going into 30s, and the way they're just speaking like they're 15, I'm like, what you mean? I didn't enjoy it so much, I think because of that. Then we go to our second last book, which is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I again went with very, 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 very high expectations because it's a book that has been on my radar since forever. And it has 3.80 stars average on Goodreads. I ended up giving it a 3.75, so pretty damn close. But I was expecting to give it a 5 star. That's the difference. I was expecting a 5 star, I did not get a 5 star. As much as I did enjoy the book, I was a bit annoyed. It really annoyed me that we are reading different points of view, yeah? And all the points of view would end on a cliffhanger. And that got a bit annoyed for me, because when we're getting to the actual conclusion, it would end, go to the next point of view, leave it all again in a cliffhanger. So I feel like it just got annoyed after a while. But it was okay, it was 3.75, it wasn't bad, it was just annoying that I really wanted it to be a 5 star, but I couldn't really get to it. The last book that we have read is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Boston. I love that book. It was so good. It has an average rating of 4.17. I gave it a 5 star. I gave it a 5 star, it was so good. It was such a good book. Again, it touched the grief topic, which I was very scared that I would not enjoy because I've read so much grief books that I was like, no, not another one. But the way it touched grief was so sudden, was so smooth. I was like, okay, this is not so bad. Okay, this is not so bad. And then I actually love the book. I love the book, and I love the magic realism aspects in it. And I'm trying to choose very carefully the next one because I do hear people not liking certain books by Ashley Boston, but then loving some others. The Romantics has been on my list for like 2 years, and I still haven't bought that book. I need to buy that book. I really need to read it. Maybe closer to Halloween because it has magic realism and stuff, so I think like it would be the perfect time to read it. But yeah, I gave it a 5 star. It was so good. I loved it. The way that it's written as well. She has a beautiful writing. I didn't expect it because normally I don't really enjoy mainstream authors, but she deserves the hype. She deserves the hype. And that was it. I've been yapping for so long. My throat is dry. My mouth is all dried up. But yeah, those were all the books that I've read in this summer. I'll keep trying to post every week. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this book, and I hope I'll see you here for the next one. Have a great day, and if you're in the middle of any book, I hope that's a 5 star book. And if it's not, I hope the next one is a 5 star book. I can feel that you have a 5 star read coming to you, okay? I can feel it. Yeah, I'll see you next week.